Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great day so far and welcome to today's video where I'm going to be talking to you about products that I thought were going to be useless or awful and they turned out to be absolute bangers. I am going to be just eating humble pie for like the next 20 or so minutes. So if you'd like to see me holding my hands up and admitting I was wrong about something, then keep watching. So first up, I want to talk about the Wayne Goss Cream Foundation. Now, I fully thought this was going to not be for me. Not that I thought it was going to be awful, but I just thought it wasn't going to be my cup of tea. I wasn't going to like it. I wasn't going to get on well with it. And there's a few reasons for that. One, I hate cream foundations. I just don't like them. I don't get along with cream products typically. They're not my jam. But when it comes to foundation, I just prefer a liquid. I don't like creams. I don't like powder foundations. I prefer a classic standard liquid foundation. So I didn't expect to like this. I also really had to take a wild punt and a guess when it came to my shade because it was released with a really limited number of shades, this foundation. I just also didn't really know what to expect. This is the first complexion product from Wayne. I think prior to this he'd done eyeshadows, lips and some cheek products, but this is the first like primer, foundation, concealer or powder product from his brand. So again, I don't know that I necessarily had high expectations, but I think this is such a beautiful foundation and it's so easy to work with for a cream as well. I find like once I found the right technique or the right application, which I really like to apply this with a sponge. You can use a brush, but you have to be careful because it does pick up a lot of product and dump a lot of product down really quickly. Once I started using this with a sponge, I found it really takes the most minute amount to give you a beautiful, natural, medium coverage. You can be really precise with where you build up and therefore keep like a really nice light layer that's very skin-like. I find it really flattering on lines, texture, wrinkles, all of the above, and I think it wears beautifully as well. But it's really handy to have a pot that you can travel with that's a bit more easy to sort of pack and takes up less space than like a large bottle foundation. But this really surprised me. I thought this was going to be terrible, a disaster. I was going to hate it, and it's a really nice foundation. So humble pie was eaten. And a lot more of it is coming. Next up, I wanted to talk about this Patrick Ta blush and this Patrick Ta creme and powder blush duo. This is the shade She's Blushing, and I'm specifically talking about this colour. But these duos in general, I thought Patrick lost his whole mind when he was releasing these. He was telling us to apply powder blush first and then pat a cream blush on the top, which seemed like utter madness and a definite recipe to go straight to crazy looking makeup town. You know, I just thought, what is happening? He's got muddled. That can't be right, but it is right and it works beautifully and it's gorgeous. And this in particular, this cream blush in here is like one of my top few favorite ever cream blushes, cream products in general. It's so beautiful. It's become like my go-to when I'm doing like 5-minute makeup running out the door. I'll do like a bit of skin tint or something, a bit of this cream blush on my cheeks and maybe some mascara. This is like the one I grab for because it's kind of got like a bronzy quality to it that it's giving me bronze and blush in one. You know, I'm all for a time saver like that in a pinch. It's just so beautiful and natural and glowy and healthy. It's really easy to work with. When these were first released, one, it's got a cream in it, not typically my jam. Two, when the advice was to apply the powder first and then the cream, I was convinced that was just not going to work. And it does. I don't know how, but it does, and I love it. And I use that a lot more than I ever thought I was going to, for sure. Next up, let's talk about Hindash's Boy Tears. So this is like a liquid eyeshadow, but it's more of like a topper. It doesn't have a lot of base color to it. It's basically a bit of shine, a bit of shimmer in a wand, you know? So this is something that was a bit of an afterthought for me. When I picked up Hindash's monochrome palette, I bought this just because it was released at the same time, and I thought, why not? Let's try a couple of products from the brand. I think it was my first purchase in the brand. Really didn't think much of this, didn't expect much of it. This is so stunning. It's so beautiful. Again, when I'm doing like quick makeup, I just want to do a little bit of something quite natural and understated on the eyes. I will go like bronzer in the crease or any sort of neutral transition shade in the crease and pat this onto the eyelid, and it is so freaking beautiful and pretty. It's so reflective but smooth, and it's so easy to work with. It's very, very thin, so it doesn't look heavy or cakey, and it's not overwhelming. It's the prettiest shimmery just touch of something on the lid. Stays like really understated, but so beautiful and just eye-catching and reflective. And it really surprised me how much I use this and how much I reach for this on those sort of understated, quick and easy on the go makeup days. It's so pretty, and I really didn't expect to really use it at all. Next up, let's talk about this Chantecaille Anti-Aging Face Tint. I just don't know what I expected from this. I hoped it was going to be like the By Terry CC serum, brightening serum, which I really, really like in the Sunny Flash shade, and it was going to give me that same vibe, which it does. It does do that. You know, what I wanted this for, what I hoped it would be good for, is on those days when I'm going like makeup free or basically makeup free, but I just want my face to match my body. My face is quite a bit lighter than my body, like all year round, but especially in summer. I just want everything to kind of match up a bit more, just add a bit of, take away a bit of the discoloration and redness to my skin, even everything up a little, and just look a bit more sort of fresh, healthy, put together. That's what I was hoping for. This blew my expectations out the window. It's so much better than I ever thought it would be. It feels so gorgeous on the skin. It's so fresh and hydrating and comfortable, and it just feels like you're doing a facial when you apply this. Really cooling and just fresh and healthy. It gives my skin the juiciest, freshest glow that just makes me look so awake and fresh and youthful. It's very, very forgiving, flattering, and just makes your skin look incredible, like you've just had a facial. It really goes a very long way to toning down redness, evening skin tone, covering things like, or neutralizing things like melasma without there being really any coverage to speak of. Very, very sheer like product, but it does an excellent job of just neutralizing an evening skin tone and just leaving you with this stunning, glowy, luminous skin that looks just so beautiful and natural, and doesn't look like you've got makeup on, just looks like you've got gorgeous, glorious skin. I am going through this like nobody's business, okay? I have used so much of this, and I feel like I almost might use this up. Like by the end of the year, maybe. I use this all the time. It's really not the type of product that prior to this existing I used hardly ever, and I'm using this like all the time. This has really made me like enjoy doing like no makeup, which was not really my jam before it came along, but I love it. Next up, let's talk about this Victoria Beckham Beauty blush stick. There's a cream blush stick in the shade Fever. Just when I saw the like images of this, it's obviously extremely bright and intense looking. Even for me who loves an orange blush, I just thought, I'm not that I didn't think I'd like it, I just didn't think I would flipping love it, and I didn't think it would be as like wearable and usable as it is. Now obviously swatched like this, it looks crazy intense and bright and intimidating, but I use this with a really light hand and a brush and just apply a very small amount on my cheeks, and it just gives me like a bit of a bronzy, almost like a sunburnt hint of colour on the cheeks, and it's so much more wearable, and I think that swatch and the look of the bullet gives it, and it's such a nice formula. But it's honestly, don't be intimidated by this blush. Use a very small amount, dab a bit on a brush and really tap this onto the cheeks, and you just really get a really gorgeous bronzy, peachy look to the skin. It also looks really lovely on the lips, although it is very matte, so it can be a bit drying. But again, something I did not think I would use, something that I thought would be really intense for maybe summer, but actually is really wearable and really surprised me. Next up, let's talk about the MAC Stack Mascara. This is the mascara I have on today. Now, this has become like one of my all-time favorite mascaras. It's probably top 3 of my mascaras. I think the only one I love more is probably the Charlotte Tilbury, which is like my number 1. But I absolutely love this one for like a more full fat, dramatic mascara. The Charlotte Tilbury is a bit more sort of natural separated. This is more like big fat, full kapow impact lashes, you know? Chunky. That's what I'm talking about. This mascara is so flipping good, and I didn't have high expectations of it because I've never loved a MAC mascara before. I've tried so many MAC mascaras. Some people like 1 or 2 of them. Most people just don't get on well with MAC mascaras. I never really feel like they've had a real big hit when it comes to mascara. They're just not a brand that's kind of synonymous with mascara. MAC you can rely on for lip products, cheek products, blush, you know, highlight, bronzer, but I don't feel like anyone really ever talks about MAC in like the mascara category because they're just not really known for making mascaras that lots of people love. And then this one came along and it blew my mind, and it really like brought MAC back into like the brands that I look for, because it was such a huge hit for the brand and it's so good and I love it so much. There's so many good things about it. It looks gorgeous on the lower lash line as well. It lasts for months and months. Like I can use this for months without having to buy a new one, without it drying out, without it stopping performing. And I didn't expect that from MAC. And now they're back on my radar again, and I'm looking and checking for them because I know if they can pull a product out like this that is this good, it's worth checking for them again, you know. This was the start of MAC's comeback, I feel. Next up, let's talk about the Hourglass Foundation. This is definitely like the biggest bit of humble pie that I have to eat for me because I wasn't even going to buy this foundation at all. And then lots of people started reviewing it and having really good experiences, and it sort of just started intriguing me. I wanted to try it for myself. What I mainly wanted to do was, a lot of my subscribers were asking me to help you with shades, because the reason I didn't want to buy this and wasn't even interested in it was because Hourglass's shade range has always been really, really awful. Really useless when it comes to their undertones. I've never been able to find a good match in their foundation because everything is so orange. I feel like all of their warm and even their neutral shades are always just straight up orange on me. No shade has ever worked. I waste a lot of money trying to find an Hourglass foundation shade that would work for me, and I'd never managed to. I didn't want to waste more money on another one. So yeah, but then a lot of you were starting to ask me, oh, what shade do I think I would be in this foundation? What shade should you get in this foundation? And so I thought, for like just shade matching, I'm going to go and try it. I'm going to see what my shade is so I can tell you guys. So I've got a couple of samples, started trying it, started wearing it in different circumstances, then decided to buy a full bottle so that I could definitely check my shade, and I've fallen head over heels in love with it. Number 1, it did take me a long time to find my shades. Okay, so 8 winter, 10.5 summer. At the moment I'm mixing a little bit, but both of those shades are great for me. I did try like 5 or 6 shades initially, so there are still issues there, and I think the descriptions and the photos online are really confusing, and there's like the same description for like 4 different shades. Really unhelpful and just confusing. So they still have some slight issues, but I definitely think their undertones are better in this foundation than they've ever had, and their range is better than they've previously offered. This is such a beautiful foundation. It has like a great coverage. A little amount goes a long way to give you a real medium to full coverage really, really quickly with a small amount. It has the most beautiful finish to it. It's called Soft Glow Foundation, and that's exactly it. It does have the finish of like the ambient lighting powders, where it's got that sort of matte luminosity to it. So it's not shiny, glowy, dewy, but it's gorgeous, radiant luminosity lit from within skin, just like their powders, and it wears beautifully, and it has no SPF, so it's a gorgeous evening event foundation. This is perfect for weddings. I think it's gorgeous, and I 100% did not think that Hourglass was going to come out with such a good foundation, because of the last one was like so bad, and 2, that they were going to produce shades that were going to work for me. So I hold my hands up, I was wrong, and I love it. So I will admit that. Next up, let's talk about the Charlotte Tilbury Cream Bronzer. Oh, I love this so much. This might be my favourite cream product ever. I was going to say, and that's saying a lot, but is it saying a lot? Because I don't like many. I hardly like any cream products. And even you can see in this video, there's quite a few cream products in here because I always expect not to like them. And so when I do like one, it's like a big shock to me. And this was one of the biggest shocks of all because cream bronzer, I feel like it's more often than not terrible. People get it wrong more often than people get it right. There are very few cream bronzers since the original Chanel Soleil Tan de Chanel that give me everything I want a cream bronzer to give me. Either it disappears into the skin and never to be seen again, or it picks up my base, or it's like won't blend, or it disappears from your face within a few hours. This does none of that. This is so beautiful on the skin, so natural. It's wearing like power is like the same as a powder. I feel like this goes like it does set down to like a powder finish. The color, this is the medium shade. I use medium and tan just depending on my skin tone and my mood. But this is the medium shade, it's probably my favorite. So natural. It doesn't look like you've got bronzer on. It's just literally the most natural bit of warmth to the skin. I find it so easy to work with, which is unusual for me in cream products. And I feel like it's going to last a lifetime. I've had this a good while now. I've used quite a bit and there's a decent dent in there, but it's not drying out. It's still really beautiful. I find it so unproblematic. It never picks up anything. And for a cream product, particularly bronzer, I feel it just wears like perfect, great, just as well as powder bronzers. And it's become the only really cream like cheek product that is in like my top drawer that I reach for all the time still. And months later, I'm still enjoying using it and getting a lot of use out of it, because typically cream products I will use a few times for review and then they go back in my drawer and they never really make it into like the normal rotation of my favorites, and this one has made it right in there. The best cream bronzer I've tried since Chanel Soleil Tan de Chanel, the original one, not the new one. Okay, they are not the same. Next up, a product that I really don't know why it's not that I thought this was going to be useless or terrible. I just did not think this was going to be as amazing, incredible, phenomenal, glorious as it is. I had like just blah expectations. I don't even know that I planned to buy these, but it's the Gucci blushes. Everything about these exceeded my expectations. From the packaging, which I thought, sure, it looks okay in the images, but in person is so much prettier and just beautiful and luxurious, and the weight and just the little touches, the little clasp that looks so pretty and elegant, and it feels so nice in your hand, down to the colors and the formula, which is so much more beautiful and stands out so much more. Like, I have a huge collection of blushes. These days, it takes a lot for me to be like, oh, that's a new favorite. You know, that's surprised me, that's impressed me, just because I've tried so many blushes and I have so many that I love. But the formula of this is just the silkiest, smoothest, luminous, glowy, but very understated. They're just so beautiful and understated and special. And like I said, that just really wasn't what I expected. I thought they'd be very average, they'd be fine, they'd be all right. I thought they'd be drier, I thought they'd be matter. I didn't think the packaging would be as nice as it is, as chic and as luxurious and pretty as it is. I underestimated these a lot. So I'm here to say I can only apologize, and I'm so sorry about it. I was wrong. And finally, lastly, but by no means leastly, it's the Hourglass Tiger palette. Now, it's not that I didn't think this would be good. I have, like, this is my fourth, I think, one of these ambient lighting edit holiday palettes. These have been coming out for years. I've bought one every year since I've been into makeup, like 4 or 5 years. I've been buying these palettes, like a lot of us. They all kind of seem the same. They're all, an ambient lighting powder that we've now got 5 of. Blushes that are luminous and always beautiful. Usually there's a bronzer in there and, a highlight that typically I just don't use these for very long. When I first get them, I'm always like, oh, it's gorgeous and it's a very beautiful product to look at. This one more than most, but they're always beautiful to look at. They're always quite exciting when they first launch. But in recent years, I have kind of got a bit bored of them. They're always the same. They're always about the same. And once you put them on the skin, they basically look at the same as the last 5 years worth of them do. So I was almost going to pass on these. I basically picked these up for review purposes and because I wanted to see whether this palette was going to actually cater to a deeper skin tone than the previous years have. I wanted to be able to compare it and see. I wasn't expecting this to be as amazing as it is, and to really see how versatile this is for different skin tones, but also for me personally, the way that I use this. I can use this on the eyes. I've got choices for how glowy or subtle I want to be, and the finishes that I want to use, the combinations, there's options in here. And the fact that this has that deeper ambient lighting powder, which means I can use it as a bronzer, and it's just so beautiful. I find Hourglass bronzers typically really powdery and glittery and always too light for me. And I don't love them, is what I'm saying. This one, because it's not actually their bronzer formula, it's their ambient lighting powder formula, it's much smoother, it's much more buildable and more natural on the skin, and the colour is amazing for my skin tone. It's just a much more natural, less like insanely orangely warm, like Hourglass's bronzers typically are for my skin tone. That I just absolutely love everything in this palette, and it's definitely the one that I'm going to get the most use out of. It's definitely a lot more usable, and as a whole palette, not just like I like 1 or 2 shades in here, but I've got 2 ambient lighting powders I'm never going to use or I already have a lot of. This one is the best they've ever brought out. For me, my preference is, my opinion, my skin tone. I absolutely love this one, and I can see me using this a lot over the coming months, which typically, you know, I get bored of them quite quickly and they go in a drawer. This one, I can see me using this like a year from now and still loving it, because it's just so much more functional and versatile and just exciting to me to have options. So there you have it. Those are my 10 most underrated by me products that I expected to be way less exciting than they ended up being. These are products that I wasn't going to pick up, wasn't interested in, had low expectations or no expectations of, but they fully surprised me and proved me wrong. And I have to say, I love it when that happens. I love to be proved wrong. I'd much rather expect a product to not be for me or to be rubbish and it turn out to be amazing. What a nice surprise. I'd much rather it happen that way than the other way around, where I really expect to love something and it's disappointing. You know, please let me know what products have really surprised you. What has turned out to be an absolute hit and a holy grail that you really didn't think was going to. Please let me know in the comment section down below. I hope you enjoyed this video and I'd love to see you in the next one. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye.